Now that is the kind of mental twist that I want. This is the last in a series of short videos about how psychology and theology interact with each other and perhaps interfere with each other. So far, we have looked at the role that pride plays in theology, the role that confirmation bias plays, and the role that availability bias plays. In this video, I am going to talk about positivity bias and fading effect bias. These biases are healthy biases. These are the types of biases that we want. And in unhealthy individuals, we find that they don't have these biases, which causes them difficulties. So in the study of psychology, for many years, psychologists would study people that had problems and try to figure out why they had problems. And about 20 years ago, the American Psychological Association changed the focus a bit into what they call positive psychology, and they started to study happy people to try to figure out why they are happy. And the positivity bias and the fading effect bias are pretty important biases that help people, healthy people, be happy. Remember, I do have an online counseling clinic that is at www.postumcafe.com. Come on by, visit us, take advantage of resources there. If you're having some emotional difficulties in life, maybe a painful transition that you're going through, we have counselors that can help you work through that can give you support that you may find beneficial. Also, if you're on a spiritual quest, maybe you're not having so many emotional difficulties, but you have questions about divinity, about God, who that might be. We have spiritual mentors that can mentor you spiritually. Normally, that's like one consultation a month. But for those that are on spiritual journeys, spiritual quests, they often find that very beneficial. So feel free to join us. Now let's talk about these healthy biases. Positivity bias, number one, is a person that has a bias to seeing positive things. And this is really a blessing if you've been blessed with this. A lot of people, in order to acquire this bias, they keep journals, and then each evening before they go to bed, they'll write in their journal and they will list positive things that happened in their day. And this habit of keeping a journal trains the mind to look for positive things in their life. So it is a tendency to see positive things. It also goes beyond that, and it is a tendency to remember positive things about the past. Sometimes they even remember positive things happening, and the way they remember them is that the things were more positive than they actually were in reality. That is, that maybe they attended a wedding with somebody, or they attended a sporting event, and they had a wonderful time while they were there. And as they are remembering that event, they remember the event to be more wonderful or more enjoyable than it actually was for them. So they actually gain more joy from the memory of the event than they actually got from the event to begin with. So that is the positivity bias. The bias, the other bias we're going to talk about, is the bias of fading effect. Fading effect has to do with negativity, negative things that happen to us. And the person with a fading effect bias, as time goes on, they forget about things that were negative. So somebody did something to harm you, and the following day you remember it, maybe next week and even a month or so away. But eventually it's just something you forget. You never think about it. And this happens primarily because the people are focused on positive things. So these two biases tend to go hand in hand. And the less we think about something, it almost disappears. That area in our brain that holds that memory just lets that memory go. It's an area, it's a room that we don't go into. It's an area we don't exercise. And that is the fading effect balance. Now, of course, negative people are going to see negative things. Even like paranoid people will be paranoid that bad things are going to happen to them that are never even going to happen. And when something does go bad, they get very resentful and angry, and they hang on to that resentment. They might get up in the morning and pour themselves a cup of coffee and talk about this terrible thing that somebody did to them. And they take on this victim mentality, and they live in that victimness. That's not healthy. That is the opposite world of fading effect bias. Positivity bias and fading effect bias are things that healthy individuals have. The obvious reason for fading effect bias is that we don't like pain. If you stick your hand into fire, the natural reaction is to pull it out of fire. If a memory causes you pain, the natural healthy reaction would be not to think about that memory. So those are healthy biases that healthy people have. And people that don't have those biases, but certainly would like to have those biases can be built, can be developed, normally through journaling and also through meditation, but not like emptying your mind, Zen meditation, but meditation through reading positive things, mindfulness. Mindfulness is when we stay in the moment. We don't think about the past. We don't think about the future. We think about exactly what we're doing at that time. So if we read a book, a positive book, if we read Bible verses, if we sing a song, a hymn or something like that, and stay in the moment, listen to the words that we're singing, look at the words that we're reading, stay in that moment. That is mindfulness. And mindfulness, if we are feeding ourselves positive things, will develop these positive biases, which are things that we all should desire.